Your favorite artists. New music discovery. Candid conversations, unfiltered. Loudmouth, little lady, lots of music history. Broadcasting live from New Jersey, it's the Carr Stereo Podcast with Terrie Carr.
So on the Carr Stereo Podcast today, a gentleman I have wanted to speak to for a very long time. I am going to introduce him as nominated for multiple Grammys. He is a crafter of the active rock sound. There is no doubt about that. Movie soundtracks, the WWE, and part of a band that I think does not get the credit they deserve for kind of leading in a rock revolution for a new decade. It is Josey Scott from Saliva, the voice of Saliva. Welcome to the Carr Stereo Podcast. It's great to see your smiling face.
I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm so excited about this interview, and you are amazing. And I've just seen where you were on tour with Priscilla Presley. Oh my God. I have so many questions. I want to interview you about just about that.
I will tell you, I did not know what to expect. The nicest person I have ever worked with. We did a book tour together, and she was amazing. Well, you're a Tennessee guy.
Yeah.
You know that. Yeah.
Me and my wife were married at Graceland in 2004, May 29th. Yeah.
Wow. That's my birthday too. Wow. How weird is this? So we have this like weird karma thing, you and me, going on already. Well, let's rewind. I want to rewind before we get into that crafting of sound I talked about. You came from a background of music and charisma because you're a preacher's kid.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of music. Dad was very musical. And of course, the preachers are kind of rock stars in their own right.
Oh, 100%.
What did you grow up around?
Well, first of all, thank you for all the wonderful, sweet, kind things you said. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, my father was a preacher. I was what us Christians call a PK, a preacher's kid. Yeah, and he was totally that. You couldn't have hit the nail on the head better. He was already this guy from high school that was like the quarterback of the team, and his team was undefeated, and he had like Elvis-like looks and this cold black hair and just tall, dark, and handsome, all the things, tan, thin. Like, this man could eat a box of freaking Little Debbie's and not gain an ounce. He was but yeah, he was totally charismatic. And watching him as a kid, I watched how people reacted to him. And, he also incorporated music into his preaching. He was one of those preachers that would not only preach, but he would get up and do a couple of songs and preach, and then do a couple more songs and preach. And my sister Rhonda was his backup, his sort of partner and backup singer. And, watching him, preach to people, and especially watching, it's funny because watching his effect on women was just incredible. Like, and I don't know, it just always made me feel so excited to watch him preach and to watch him sing and perform. So, when people ask me who was your idol growing up, or who was, somebody that you identified with musically, it was my father. It was 100% my dad, Scotty. And, watching the effect, obviously, that he had for the good on people, people would, like, for instance, sort of crazy to mention, but people would line up. He had a special gift with people who had sick children. They would come up with these children that had fevers that wouldn't break and sicknesses that wouldn't leave. And he would pray for them, and they got better. I watched this happen as a kid, and it was just something that was amazing to watch, and to watch the strength of my dad's faith. And I remember this is crazy, but I remember being about, I think I was 7 years old, and I watched him and these other preachers pray for this man that they said was possessed, and I had never seen anything like this. So I'm scared to death, like 6, 7 years old, and I remember watching my dad pray for this man, and watching these sounds come out of him that were just insane, and I can't even describe the situation, but it was almost like The Exorcist. Later on in life,
Wow.
it was crazy. And
Wow.
watch that leave that man, and it being because, of course, God, but being my dad being the conduit of that was just insane. And I was like, when I grow up, I want to be just like him. I want to be just like my dad.
That's a rock star.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, getting rid of the evil, charming the women, doing the music. That is a rock star. And dad was also a big fan of yours. He was very supportive of yours, biggest fan when you started your music career, really, really was behind you. Saliva came together very organically too, which I think is something that makes a great rock band. You're out, you're like, playing in the bars, slumming in the places, doing what you've got to do to kind of keep that music alive. Those
Mhm.
early days for you, do you look back on them as being really super fun or really super stressful?
I think in I think in the moment when I was a kid, you know, sort of paying my dues, or as the people in Nashville say, getting smoke on my clothes. Uh, you know, I probably was a little stressed at in the moment, because we were literally starving artists. I was telling my son yesterday, he was my son just got his first job, and he's like, I don't know if I want to go to work today. And I said, son, do you know how many times that I starved for what I wanted to accomplish in life, for starving for my art? I said, I remember me and Chris DeBaldo, the original rhythm guitar player for Saliva. We were in our first band, Blackbone, and I remember being in our little 1985 van, digging around in the carpet looking for quarters, because we knew that 7-Eleven had a 2 hot dog special for 50 cents. You could go in and pay 50 cents and get 2-for-1 hot dogs. And we would literally set out and split 2 hot dogs together. And that was our meal for the day. That was it. And, you know, at the time it seemed scary and unpredictable, but looking back on it, those were the greatest times of my life. Those are I believe, I believe that the universe, to make you, has to break you. And I believe that it doesn't just hand you a crown. It breaks you first to see if you're, capable of it. If you can endure it, if you can take it, all the stories my dad told me when I was a kid, he was like, Joseph in the Bible was taken prisoner by his own brothers and dropped down a well, and they laughed at him while he did it. Well, later on, he had dreams that he saw people bowing to him as a king standing beside Pharaoh, and later on he became a king. And so I believe that what my dad taught me is, for the universe to make you, it has to break you first. And we spent many years of that brokenness, being broken and molded. But I believe you're being molded and shaped and into what you're, eventually will be. And I wouldn't take anything for those moments of paying my dues and sort of being in that brotherhood, learning how to be in a band, learning how to get along with 4 other people. Because, like a lot of musicians say, it's like a 5-way marriage. And that was when I was in Blackbone, that was my first attempt at a 5-way marriage. And of course, we were together for about 4 years, and then it blew up in our face because we didn't know how to to compromise and how to eventually get along and all the things, girls and money and all the different things, come at you, and eventually that situation ended up imploding. But I went back to Memphis. I remember my dad was the bus driver, and we had this old church bus that we gotten from this Baptist church, and we were driving back home to Memphis. And I remember my face against the glass on that bus going home, and the like, it was cold and it was rainy, and I just remember laying against that glass and thinking to myself, I'm going to go home and I'm going to pick out all my favorite musicians from all my favorite bands in Memphis, and I'm going to put together a brand new team, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do this the right way, and I'm going to use this experience as boot camp. And I'm going to consider this my basic training in Blackbone, and I'm this on into my next project. And right then and there, I was like, what is the coolest band name I can think of? And I was like, I want something that's already a household word, but something that's cool, like 3 syllables, like Nirvana. I was totally into Nirvana, like everybody, in 1995, 1996. And I just came up with the name Saliva. It just popped up in my head, and I was like, well, that's already a household word. That's going to freak people out because, some people think it's gross. It's, has all the earmarks of a good rock band name. It's going to be interesting to kids. It's going to be freakish to parents. All the signs were there. So I was like, Saliva. That's
I
it.
love that. That was your moment. All right, so we're gonna fast forward. The thing I loved about Saliva, and I always thought you guys never got the credit for, songs were phenomenal.
Thank you.
So entrenched in hook. There was hook, there was melody. You never relied on the same formula. Things sounded very different. You weren't afraid to take a chance with a ballad. The ballads always did really well for the band, but then, you had, of course, Click, Click, Boom and Ladies and Gentlemen. Like, when I heard Ladies and Gentlemen, the production on that song, I'm like, where the F did this come from? This is incredible. It was the most unique thing that I had heard. So Saliva comes out late 90s, and I think that was the beginning for me as a rock programmer, as I was in the late 90s, of the active rock sound. I think bands like Godsmack and Korn certainly get the credit that they deserve for ushering in that sound. I don't think that you guys do. And I don't think people realize how successful those songs were and are. I think Click Click Boom now is up to like 140 or something million views on YouTube. It's just crazy. Your streaming numbers are nuts. And at that time, you guys were just Billboard song after Billboard song after Billboard song. You had number ones, top fives, 13 songs on the charts. You then became kind of a solo guy. You did your solo thing, Grammy nominations. I don't think people realize the scope of what you guys did when you came out, Lightning in a Bottle. And so I wanted to make sure that I brought that up because I think the active rock format, which is still alive and well and thriving, by the way, was brought in by bands like Saliva. That includes Saliva. So who was the first big time believer? Was it your label? Was it Leor Cohen? Who's the first person that's like, you guys are stars, I'm going to get you on the radio?
Well, we had been together a short time. We've been together about a year, and there's a sort of South by Southwest type thing that's in Memphis every year called Crossroads, and we had played that every year in Blackbone, and it's sort of where all these different fans and industry people get together, and there's just show after show after show up and down Beale Street, and in and around that area in Memphis, all the cool little bars and theaters and venues that are in that area showcase different bands, and it was laid out really cool because you could go see this band at 6:30 and go see this band at 7:30, go down the street and see this band at 8:30, and so on. And we in Saliva, I was like, we really need to play this because we could pick up a lawyer or a manager or and record labels were always in the mix too. But we played at the Omni New Daisy, which was our little spot there on Beale Street. It was like a 1,000-seat theater. There used to be a movie theater back in the 30s, and we knew the owner very well. They call him the Pope of Beale Street, Mr. Mike Glenn. He was sort of like our godfather, Memphis sort of mafia type guy that took us under his wing and protected us. And so we played there that night at Crossroads, and we met Brian Coleman, who was, I didn't know this at the time, but he was Nickelback's manager and Oleander's manager, and another band called Default from up in Canada.
I love that band. Yeah, another band that was very big in that active format. I remember the first time I heard "Wasting My Time," and I was like, "This song is a smash hit." Yeah, right. Great song. Yep.
Absolutely. And I had an old black musician back in the day, an old blues man on Beale Street, almost like sort of this, talking about Crossroads, it was almost like this meeting the devil at midnight type moment. This man gave me all this advice, and he told me, he said, "Son, when the right person comes along for you, he's not going to throw out a contract and a pen in your face. He's going to shake your hand and tell you, I'm going to do these things for you, and you don't owe me anything. If I can't get it done in a couple of years, we'll walk away. No harm, no foul." He goes, "It's going to be that kind of guy that really believes in you." He said, "It's not going to be these jokers that walk up and go, 'Hey, sign here. I only take, 10 or 20% and we'll take care of you. We'll make all your dreams come true." He said, "It's not going to be that kind of guy. It's going to be a guy who's going to do a deal on a handshake." And lo and behold, everything this man told me became true. Lo and behold, that night we played at Crossroads. Brian Coleman comes up and he said, "Listen," he got us all together in the green room, and he said, I'm really interested in working with you guys." He said, "I see that there's major potential here with you guys, and I believe in you." He said, "You give me a year, maybe a year and a half. If I can't get this done for you and get you a deal out the door, I'll walk away. No harm, no foul. You don't owe me anything." And I was just like, and I remember in my mind going, "This is what he said. This is what that guy said. Oh my God, this is what that guy said." So, we agreed with Brian, and he took us under his wing, and that was it. Everything just started to happen really fast after that. We made, back then you made up what we called press packets. I know you remember this, where you would, demo up your songs and put together a little short bio, and then you just would hurl it out into the universe at all the different labels and lawyers, entertainment lawyers, and different labels, and see what came back. And, he just was so caring with us and so attentive to us, and just taught us the ropes and taught us what to look for and what to not look for, and who to take seriously and who to not take seriously. And, was very protective of us and kind to us. And that's one thing that I've always looked for in people. And I know you can probably tell this too, within 5 minutes of meeting somebody, or even 2 or 3 minutes of meeting somebody, within 5 minutes of meeting them, that whether they're a kind person or they have a kind spirit or not. And he was just that kind of person. He was just filled with kindness. He was very gentle. He wasn't abrasive and, threatening and that kind of guy. He was just very kind and very considerate and loving towards us. And just let us know that everything was going to be okay from that moment on. And pretty much, Terry, it was. We still had some dues to pay going up the ladder, but he got us in front of the people that we only dreamed of. Like, he got our songs demoed up, and the next thing you know, we were showcasing for Atlantic Records. We showcased for Interscope Records. We showcased for Capitol Records out in California. And, it began. All of it began back then.
It started. Yeah. It shot out of a cannon. You guys literally were shot out of a cannon. And I remember getting those Saliva CDs on my desk. And, when the singles were coming out, and I'd be like, God, these guys can't lose. I mean, every song was a smash hit. And the records were churned out pretty quickly. You went from, putting out the, your Black album or whatever in 1997 was 2001 and 2002 and 2004. Like, it was just boom, 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 boom. Rock radio hits, videos everywhere. You then become, dare I say it, kind of a solo artist, because now you're on a movie soundtrack. Was there any animosity with the band? Did they feel a little abandoned? Was it sort of like no, you're cool to do this? What was that like?
Well, I think there was a no, you're cool to do this vibe. But I could tell that it caused tensions that I didn't expect, like a little bit of tension, between them. I think only because they knew I didn't want to go solo. They knew Saliva was my band and my thing.
Were they scared, though, that this may open a door for you where you would get this idea in your head?
Yes.
That you were here and they were here.
Right.
And because look, that happens in bands, it happens in marriages, it happens in families. It's not unlikely.
But I never, honestly, Terry, I never treated them like that. I never made them, eat that, oh, this is going on in my life and I'm above y'all or better than y'all, or I should get more than y'all or anything like that. We were a brotherhood. We sort of signed a verbal contract with each other that we would take care of each other and that we would always be there for each other. And, for we were still in the honeymoon phase, kind of, because, we had been turned down by every record label. Every record label had passed. And I got to where even to this day, saying the word pass makes my anxiety go up a little bit. Because we had been passed on by every label until Island Def Jam came along, and we met Leor Cohen, who was the CEO of Island Def Jam at that time. He's the head of, I believe, YouTube Music or something now. He's always been the head of some gargantuan.
He's always a front runner. He's always seeing things that people haven't seen yet. Yep.
And, I think he had proven himself. Looking back, hindsight's 20/20, but looking back, I think Leor had proven himself in hip hop. He had more than proven himself in R&B, and he wanted to take on the frontier of American rock and roll music. And we just happened to be the bullet put in that chamber at that time. And girl, you talk about shot out of a cannon. That was who shot us out of a cannon, was Leor Cohen, because he had such a belief and was able to sort of, as the New Yorkers say, throw his balls on the table.
Absolutely. Always threw his balls on the table. No question about it.
And he was willing to do that with us. And, even the Hero thing with Chad Kroeger, he came to me with that and he said, he's got this Dolph Lundgren type accent, and I used to imitate him. It's so funny. He was like this Israeli defense fighter type guy. He was a special forces guy back in the day, and he would always come to me and say things. In that time he said, Josey, he goes, they want to put their best man. He goes, and I will put forth my best man. He goes, you will go to Vancouver and write with Chad Kroeger. and see what you come up with. I believe there's magic there. And he couldn't have been more with his finger on the pulse of what was about to happen, because next thing you know, I'm in a plane going to Vancouver, and I meet Chad. Well, I had met Chad Kroeger, but I meet up with Chad Kroeger, and we had been familiar with Nickelback because we had the same managers. Crazy how all this stuff comes full circle. And we had toured with Nickelback a little bit in Europe and in the States. So getting to meet up with Chad was like getting to meet up with an old friend. And, getting in a room with him, I'll never forget this conversation as long as I live. He said, because he wanted to do like another click, click, boom type thing. And I said, well, that's cool. And I'm willing to do that for sure. I said, but I kind of feel like I've done that. I want to stretch my legs as a writer, as a songwriter, and challenge myself and challenge you to see what we can come up with. And he goes, I have this other song. He goes, that the guys say it's not a Nickelback song. And I said, well, play me the not Nickelback song. And he sat there with a little acoustic guitar and he played me the meat and potatoes of Hero. And I was like, that's it. That's what we need to do. I was like, the song's even called Hero, for God's sakes. It's for a Spider-Man movie, for God's sakes. I said, we have to do this. And within about 10 minutes, me and him going back and forth, we put together what the song was going to be. The great ones always come, in my experience, within 5-10 minutes. Those moments where something's going to be met, like click, click, boom. I literally wrote it in 5 minutes. I woke up.
And Hero was that fast? Hero came that fast for you guys?
100%.
Wow.
And I remember opening the door to the little room we were in the studio and screaming for Rob Stevenson, my A&R guy. I said, please come in here. Please, you got to hear the song. And so they get up and come in the room, and I sat them down, and I was like, you got to hear this. So we had worked out the harmonies together, and we just blasted it right there in front of them. And they were like jaw on the floor, stop the presses type.
Yeah, we were like that at radio too. I remember that Spider-Man. I remember the CD single. Now that you said that, like it clicked in my head with like the Spider-Man on it, and it like it all just kind of came back to me. But we were the same way. I mean, that was like literally, I think, the song of the year at Active Rock Radio that year, and got you another Grammy nomination, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. Just crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. So then we're moving forward, because I mean, I don't know how much you packed into this decade of time here, because you really packed it all in. So then all of a sudden everything, and I don't know how it doesn't pile. And you've got a life too. You're married, you've got kids, you've got, you're trying to juggle 1,000 balls.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of deciding, listen, I need to take a little time for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a couple things that I want to cover here. And you and me are kind of in a similar situation with something that I wanted to get your take on it, because I'm hoping maybe it can help me too.
Okay.
So you taking a break, and then all of a sudden things start to slip and slide.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of fingers in the pots.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this all happen?
Well,
because you didn't leave, you didn't quit the band, right?
I did. I mean, quit the band per se. I definitely told the guys. I said, I've got to take a break, because it had just gotten so crazy. And like you said, it began to pile up on all of us. And even during that time, I don't know how, looking back, like I said before, hindsight's 2020. I don't know how in the world I packed in doing 13 episodes of a cop show out in Los Angeles. I don't know how I did these things. But it just began to get too crazy. Um, and we were having fun like any rock band was in that day and time. We were young guys from Memphis, Tennessee. I was a high school dropout. I had a son of my own back in Memphis with my high school sweetheart. Um, and like you said, I had recently gotten married in 2004, and had a son with my wife, and was about to have another daughter, or to have my first daughter, in 2011. And we were having fun and partying like all the bands back then. Not to excuse that behavior, because I definitely take full responsibility for my end in that. And drugs and alcohol just skew things. They began to blur lines, and things just get insanely crazy. And I knew from my experience with drugs and alcohol, and my family's experience with drugs and alcohol, I was like, I'm gonna die if I don't stop this, if I don't get out of this. uh I'm not gonna live to tell about it, because there's not many old drug addicts out there that live to tell this tale. And you know, I wasn't like doing anything crazy like shooting heroin or anything like that, but it was just coke and alcohol. It was everywhere back then, and it
And you have kids, and your kids missed you, and they wanted to be around you, and you wanted to be present. So
100.
lot of things going around the circle for you there. Certainly not the only musician that's partied.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of the musicians who haven't partied.
Right.
I can't. I really. It's hard to think of people, off the top of your head. It kind of comes with the territory of being thrust into this new life, being young,
Sure.
having funds to do the things that you want to do that you maybe didn't have before. So it's a recipe for that. But of course you have the foresight of thought to think, you know what? I got to get my shit together
Right.
for my own sanity, for my life, for my wife, for my marriage, for my kids.
100%.
So, because there were all these, rumors. He's out of the band. He's a preacher now. He's never coming back. And I just always felt that you just kind of needed a little bit of a break.
Sure.
And then Saliva with Josey, which is Saliva to me,
Hmm.
was going to be back. Now, you guys then were supposed to regroup,
Hmm.
and then something else kind of happens. You like regroup for a while, and then so there were all of these, I like to call them muddying of the waters.
Right.
The waters are there, and there's always some shithead slinging in the mud,
Hmm.
you know. So, what was that like for you to all of a sudden be? Because this is what I would like to talk to you about.
Okay.
To be on the outside looking in
Hmm.
to something that you created. I've had a very similar experience recently
Hmm.
where you're a big part of something. And then
Sure.
all of a sudden you're on the outside looking in and you're thinking, wait a minute, all these people are doing stuff that I created.
Right.
There's a lot of emotions
Sure.
that go along with that. Tell me about yours.
Well, I mean, it's just heartbreaking. Now, the one word I could put to it is it's heartbreaking to see something that you created from the ground up, that you were a founding member of, uh, and you know, and then to get treated like you are this lowly, disgruntled old employee is just crazy to me.
Never sat well with me.
Yeah.
I never got it. Being a fan of the band and having, some of the backstory, hadn't had your story yet,
Mhm.
but it never sat right with me.
Mhm.
It just always felt wrong.
Sure. Like Will Ferrell says, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. But it, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, Terry. you never know the darkness that lurks in a man's heart. You don't know how people are going to react. So I heard somebody say the other day, they said, if you want to see how somebody really is, give them fame and money. And that's true, and because we certainly were given a little bit of fame and money, and we came apart at the end of the runway like any other plane that was trying to land with no landing gear. But you know, while Wayne Sweeney, my blessed lead guitar player in Saliva, who I adored, he was famous before we were famous in Memphis. He was in a band called TNA that was gigantic in there in Memphis, and along with Tora Tora and Roxy Blue back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I'd always dreamed of being a band with him, and to be able to take that journey with Wayne Sweeney from the beginning was just so magical. And then to watch it sort of be whittled down to just him there in the last, what I call the last days of Wayne's life, in the last days of Saliva. We had talked about doing a reunion tour with Chris DeBaldo, the original.
I remember that. That was really, really exciting. And then all of a sudden, those waters, they didn't get muddy. It was like literally like a landslide of shit pouring in, quite frankly. I mean, for the lack of a better phrase. And I'm like, where's the Saliva reunion? I was like waiting for that because there were talks about that. And then all of a sudden, monkey wrench, big time thrown in.
Right. And not only to have those waters muddied, but to then be blamed for muddying those waters. I was like, how is this my fault? I was like, I'm trying to play fair and to do this. I'm trying to actively, with a positive attitude, do this. I think this would be great for the fans, number one, that were begging us to do it, begging us to have a reunion of the original members, and to have those waters muddied by somebody who wasn't even in the picture in the beginning, who was a child, girl. This guy was a child when we were releasing Click Click Boom. This guy was a kid. He was still trying to kiss a girl and go on a date. You know what I mean? He was 15, 16 years old. So to have those waters muddied by that person is just, it's just heartbreaking. Like I coming back to that word. And then, Wayne called me and said, well, it doesn't look like the reunion is going to happen. So will you come out to Blue Ridge Music Festival and do the encore with the guys?
Because Blue Ridge was where it was supposed to happen. Correct? That's what I remember reading. Yeah.
Well,
and they wanted you to do the encore.
Yeah. Wanted me to come out and do Always Your Disease and Click Click Boom. And I was like, yes, Wayne, of course. Of course.
You said, of course. Oh my gosh. You're a better man than I am.
Yeah. Well, people go into a burning building to save who they love. And I felt like I wanted to look Wayne in the face one more time and experience being on stage with him one more time by hook or crook. I didn't care.
And your gut felt that was a right gut for you. I mean, obviously, because life is short.
Right.
As we know. Okay. So then what happens? So what happens there?
Well, and it's funny because even the negotiations for me to come just do 3 songs, girl.
No, oh my God, you're kidding.
Back and forth with this guy. And then, of course, his management blamed me, said I was a diva and I was demanding all this stuff. That is just totally untrue. It was him that was demanding. And it took me a minute, but I figured out his game. His game is he does these things, then blames you for doing these things. This is my experience with that person. You sort of throw your hands up and go, what's happening? And then they blame you. They go into the press, and they go to their little minions and their outlets, and they blame you. They say, you're the problem. You're the one doing the things. And I was just baffled. You got to give the kid credit for playing, multidimensional chess with this. And, I told my wife one time, I said, this guy has his fingers in every pie. Like, he was, once I looked into it, girl, he was the tour manager. He was the business manager. He was booking the shows. He was like the freaking Swiss Army knife of lead singers. That, he was everything. He did everything he could possibly do but become me.
And then the sad thing is, of course, we lose Wayne in 2023.
Right.
And that's, something else. That's a whole other, just a whole other aspect of this. You've had, look, and we've got 2 songs to talk about, so I'm saving the best for last. 2 killer, amazing, banging songs that I want to talk about. That's really why we're here, to talk about the fact that you are coming back. 2026 is going to be a great year for you. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. But you lose, you lost your son in 2021, then you lost your musical partner in Wayne in 2023. Both were kind of surprises. Your son contracted COVID and died from complications of COVID. My God, my heart breaks for you. I talk about it and I get teared up. And then you lose Wayne in 2023. We lost him to a brain bleed, a brain hemorrhage. Mm-hmm. How do you come back? How do you come back from that? How do you not go back to drinking and falling into that kind of hole that you felt like you were falling into? How do you keep yourself saying, you know what? I gotta move forward. I've got to move forward. Those are catastrophic losses in life.
I think it's ironic because today is Wayne's birthday. So, it's, I heard someone say one time, when I was trying to deal with my grief and trying to sort of find some kind of something to hold on to during all this time, especially after the loss of Wayne as well. And I had lost several family members, not only my son, but aunts and uncles and cousins. And it was just crazy. And I heard someone say that the good times in life are the commercial breaks between the tragedies. And I was like, I can hold on to that, because that's exactly what it seems like. It seems like that there are these great, amazing moments in life where, I call it, where your video cameras in your eyes come on and they record everything that's happening in front of you. And then there are these heart shattering, tragic moments. And they seem like more of the predominant thing in life, because I believe the good times, like the man said, are the commercial breaks between tragedies. But
those are the things that get us, those commercial breaks are the things that get us through everything else.
Right.
You live for those moments,
I think if I hadn't had my faith and my family, and, 3 amazing kids, my son Justice, who's 19, and my first little girl, Jordan, who's 14, who's a basketball player now, and my little cheerleader, Jolie, is 10 years old. I have 2 beautiful daughters with my wife Kendra, and an amazing son. Justice is an amazing actor and
a fan of yours.
100%.
Loves the music.
Loves the music. And 2 amazing stepchildren. My stepson Dylan is my rhythm guitar player in my new band, and just an amazing, talented kid.
Oh, I love that. Love that.
We have our my stepdaughter Brittany, and we have a new granddaughter named Amelia. So I believe if I didn't have those things to hold on to, and those things that keep me grounded and keep me focused, I probably would have, turned to, as President Lincoln said, the lesser angels of my nature. But thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I held on to the people that loved me and that I loved. And, you live to fight another day. And but I don't think with like I said, without my faith and my strong, just amazing wife, Kendra, is just such a, she's so my backbone and just has nerves of steel. She's a lot tougher than I am. I'm like this just hard on my sleeve type, singer songwriter
Big
artist,
mush, big mush,
big
big
mush.
mush. Yeah.
And she's hard as nails. She will sit and hold me while I cry, and she will fight in the street like a gangster. She is my ride or die.
I love
And
it. I love it. Good for you. Good for you. Now,
thank
I mentioned, I think 2026 is going to be a great year for you. You are going out, you're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Every 6 Seconds. So you're going to be out, you're going to be doing tour dates. This is tremendous. And you've got two killer songs. Amazing rock bangers as only Josey Scott can deliver. I can say people can sing songs, people can write songs, but you've got to be the deliverer of these songs.
Sure.
So let's talk about Famous and let's talk about Who. These are kind of songs that are drenched in your emotion and kind of response for some of the things that have been happening professionally in your life. You work with Scatterbrains, you're a producer. So talk to me a little bit about making new music and this great kind of new tunnel that you're traveling down.
Well, I met Scatterbrains in Nashville. I was doing a song with Struggle Jennings, and I didn't know that he was Struggle's DJ on tour with him, and he was this virtuoso in the studio. He was like this amazing producer and just a killer songwriter. And I always said, if I could find someone who knew the lay of the land and all this new technology, then I had songs. I never stopped writing songs, Terry, from the moment I left Saliva, because songwriting has never been a choice for me. It's just the radio in my brain comes on and the ideas come out. And if I don't have a pen and a piece of paper, or nowadays my phone, to record these ideas, they will go away. I think Edgar Allan Poe said one time the greatest poetry he ever wrote, he forgot because he didn't have a writing implement. So I've learned to sort of respect that conduit or that antenna that's up towards the universe. When those ideas come in, I quickly at least jot down a sketch of what I'm hearing in my head, and I'll sing it into my phone, just like I did Click Click Boom back in the day with my big red brick phone I had at the time. But I've just continued to sort of record those ideas and write down those ideas. And Scatterbrains was the first guy that came along and said, let me relieve you of those ideas. Let me get you in the studio, and we will go through these part and parcel, one at a time, and we will get these songs down for you.
And how good did that feel? That must have felt so great to have a musical partner that shared your vision and that you could collab with. Because as you said, you had these ideas, you had these songs, and you just didn't have that other piece of the puzzle. That had to be very cathartic, where you were able to take that breath and be like, I'm freaking back, right?
So cathartic, because it's like carrying around luggage, that you can't unpack. And Scatterbrains took mercy on me, like you said, and helped me to unpack that luggage. And it was so cathartic and so relieving. It was like a weight had finally come off my shoulders when I was able to, sing, sing out this heartbreak and sing out about the people I loved and sing out about whether it be God or sex or fame or money or heartbreak or the loss of a child or the loss of my musical, partner. We used to call each other, me and Wayne Sweeney used to call each other the Toxic Twins, the sequel. To lose him and not to get to sing about it was just, it was a heavy load to have to carry. And then, to have I don't know what you'd call it, the cover band or the incarnation of Saliva that's out there now come out with a diss track towards me. I'm like, what is happening? So I just went in the studio and I said, okay. I was like, you want to challenge me? If you want to challenge me, I'm gonna light you on fire. So I went in the studio and I did just that. And like you said, I was able to hit people with the truth. When you listen to those songs, my wife's friend the other day, she said, I don't even know the facts of this situation, but I can tell that what Josey's saying in those songs is the truth. I can just tell that he's singing from this passionate place where he's telling the truth that's in his heart, and I couldn't have said it better myself, because that's exactly what Who and Famous have become is these two sort of envelopes that I could shove all that information in and let go of it.
I always say authenticity cannot be faked.
100%.
Authenticity cannot be faked. People pick it up, especially music fans. You feel it, you hear it, it's in your gut. And when I heard these two songs, I was like, oh my God. Number one, he's back with that. So this is the Saliva sound, because the Saliva sound is you.
Thank you.
When I think of, I'm trying to think like Saving Abel to me is like, I had Jared Weeks on. Jared is the voice of Saving Abel to me. You are the voice of Saliva. Saliva is not Saliva without Josey Scott. So 2026, I think, is going to be a big year. You've got these two amazing singles out. You're going to be going out on tour. What does your year look like? What are the plans like? Can we look forward to seeing you all over?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to continue touring the United States. And we're going to eventually go over to Europe. And we have some plans to, go to Australia, South America, the whole thing.
Wowza.
We are finishing up. I just recorded 2 more songs with Scatterbrains this past weekend. I had 3 in the can with him. So I've got about 7 songs mixed and mastered, and I'm going to go back and do 4 more and this coming week, in between touring. When I can get to Nashville, I'm going to go record the last 4 or 5 that I have and I'm going to just release a full-length album, and we're just going to tour. We're going to celebrate the anniversary of Every 6 Seconds by playing every song on the album, and along with some new stuff, for the fans. And we're going to hit, all the hits, of course, as well. We play Hero every night for the veterans, and
amazing.
Veterans, and, just onward and upward.
These are your songs. You're the deliverer of these songs, and you should be able to take them out and give them life and introduce them to future generations of rock fans. I love it. Oh my gosh. So much to unpack in this interview. And I'm so grateful for your time. And I'm so happy for those of you who want to check out Josey's music, please. Famous and Who, two amazing tunes. We've got more music coming. We are celebrating, of course, the 25th anniversary of Every 6 Seconds. And Josey Scott, it was such a pleasure to catch up with you. My gosh. Thank you so much.
I would love to speak with you anytime you want. And I love your Dio shirt that you're wearing. That's awesome. And
gotta love me some Ronnie. Love me some Ronnie.
And it's so amazing that you got to hang out with Priscilla Presley, man. That is
the
just
greatest. Oh my gosh. And you know what I loved the most about touring with her? We did this book tour because she has this new book out called Softly as I Leave You, Life After Elvis. It is tremendous. It just came out in September. There was nothing when we were out doing these 90-minute shows for her fans. There was nothing that was off limits to her to speak about. She was an open book talking about everything. Elvis coming to the Catholic school to pick her up when she was a student, and the nuns going crazy, and the Memphis Mafia, and, you know, her life after Elvis. And I mean, she was just a delight and a joy. I loved working with Priscilla, one of my favorite people.
When I was preparing to do that show, Wanted, the cop show I did out in Los Angeles in 2005, I was taking a little acting class that was offered there in Memphis. Red West, one of Elvis's best friends and bodyguards,
Sure.
Class, who's been in several movies. Oh my God, he was in freaking Roadhouse, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about your acting and your I mean, you were like, you know, band was like the kings of the WWE, for God's sakes. I mean, there was just so much, but you certainly have that, you know, Memphis mentality.
Yeah. I used to stay and help at the end of the acting class. It was every Tuesday and Thursday. I would stay till the end of the class because he had it there in his house. He had a
wow.
And I would stay till after class and help him clean up. I would help him put the folding chairs away and pick up trash and take out trash for him because I just wanted to pick his brain about Elvis. And
that's what I was doing. I felt like it was 90 minutes of me just asking Priscilla questions about, you know, the joyous times, the sad times. Like it's incredible when you get that opportunity, isn't it though?
100%. 100%. He was always very kind and generous and super sweet to me. But he must have felt like I was this kid that just was aggravating the piss out of him.
Like the Chris Farley character, like, hey, remember when you were working with Elvis? That was awesome. You know, like you were very much that Chris Farley character. That's how I felt. I was kind of like with Priscilla too. But it's so nice when you meet those people and they're just so gracious. She was so gracious to me, even to a point where I was like eating by myself. And she's like, what are you doing over there by yourself? Come on, come eat with us. Like she's just was the nicest, most amazing person. So it was really, really incredible to work with her. And I'm happy that you brought that up. I cannot wait to see you on tour too. So I've got to find out when you are coming to the Northeast. I'm in the Jersey area right near New York City. And dude, we're going to hook up. We're going to hang out. And I cannot wait to hear these songs that have meant so much to so many people, including me, live, done by the man who was the creator of them.
You're so sweet and so kind. Thank you for all your kind words. It means the world to me, Terrie, and I will not soon forget it. You are so kind and sweet. Thank you. As
are you, Josey. Thank you so much for being on with me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Don't forget to like this podcast and subscribe to the Carr Stereo page on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Rob Moorhead. TC and I will see you next time.